Hi everybody, this is a very special video. I hope you are here to celebrate with us Jerusalem Day. Wish us a happy Jerusalem Day. We have a new capital. Oh, wait. I'm being informed right now that Jerusalem has been Israel's capital since the late 1940s. So what has changed? This is the first time that our greatest ally, the US, has recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Yay! Wait. I'm now being told that the US Congress has already recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. In 1995, they passed a law that says that the US Embassy should move to Jerusalem. Okay, so but now Trump says that he will actually move it. Yay! Him too, like previous presidents, sign a delay, a waiver for the law to be implemented. It's not going to start right away, not for the foreseeable future. Okay, so what has changed since Trump has decided to recognize officially, whatever that means, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital? Okay, so spoiler alert, this is all political theater. Political theater 101. No one knows what it means. A lot of people might pay a price for this decision by Trump, this political theater decision. And the first person to pay that price was me, because I had to listen to the entirety of Trump's speech. That was not easy, because it was filled with so much bullshit, and I couldn't even hit him with a 2x4 upside the head while I was listening to the speech. So the first victims are in. That is me. Okay, so let me break it down. Put it into general context in history and all that. So what do I mean when I say that it's political theater? The entire premise of Trump's speech about recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and the reason for this declaration is,
I've judged this course of action to be in the best interests of the United States of America and the pursuit of peace between Israel and the Palestinians.
That's a good one. That would have been a good one if I were not living here in Israel. Okay, let's get something straight right out of the gate. There is no embassy in Jerusalem. No country has their embassy in Jerusalem. All of them have their embassies in Tel Aviv. Gonna get into more details later, but nobody recognizes Israel's annexation of Eastern Jerusalem into Jerusalem. Let's start with the winners of this kabuki political theater. The main winner is, unfortunately, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He wants this because he wants to say that this is a historic day, a historic shift, a momentous shift, an earthquake in Israel's diplomatic standing. He wants to run on that in the next elections, make himself seem as the statesman who changed the status of Jerusalem, while all his opponents are not doing half of what he can do for the state of Israel. Baloney. Netanyahu, I'm not sure if you watched our video about all his legal problems, but he is knee-deep in several really serious criminal investigations. He has allies in jail or cooperating with the Attorney General in the investigations against him. 2 people are cooperating. So he does not like all these headlines about all his legal troubles, and he's getting grilled by police again and again. I think overall 6 times. His wife is also in legal trouble for stealing money and products and stuff. And he has been trying really hard this past month to pass a law that will muzzle the Israeli police. and prevent it on recommending publicly, after they finish their investigation, to either indict or not indict the Prime Minister when they hand off the case to the Attorney General. They have been doing this since time immemorial, but now he wants to change the law at breakneck speed in order for it to fit him and some of his allies who are also on the brink of going to jail or being indicted. So now no one will talk about this. Everyone will talk about Jerusalem, the capital of Israel. Trump has recognized this capital of ours. Yes, Bibi, you are an incredible statesman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bull fucking shit. Another winner, Donald J. Trump. I guess he wants to pander to all his evangelical voters, this voting bloc that likes him, even though everything that Trump is goes against everything that they supposedly believe. Who cares what it actually means? Who cares what the effects are here on the ground? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But it's a win for him. Does it mean now that other countries will recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel? Nope. Several of our allies and of the United States allies have already said that they are against Trump's declaration. So the answer is no. Will now corporations move to Jerusalem and say, oh, this is now the capital, so American corporations, we can work from here? Nope. Will it improve in any way Israel's diplomatic situation and security situation? Give me a break. Give me a break. Another winner is Sheldon Adelson, our Jewish American overlord, who has Benjamin Netanyahu in his back pocket and who is a big donor to Trump and the Republican Party. And since he has become a donor, the Republican Party has moved so far to the right that it's actually to the right of most of the political spectrum here in Israel. This shift is not an accident. Back in the 80s, in the early 90s, with George H.W. Bush, the Republicans were most definitely not in Israel's back pocket in any sort of way. Quite the contrary, they pressured the government of Israel in a way that no other government has pressured it before or after to go into the Madrid talks, peace talks and all that. I don't want to get into all that, but you can see a very, very clear shift. Even George W. Bush, he said that the settlements are an impediment to peace. Now, no Republican politician can say that if they want to get any money whatsoever. Having said all that, even the fact that no country has recognized officially up to now Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, that's also political theater, because it means nothing. It means nothing. It's all symbolic. Do other countries really pressure Israel to cut a peace deal with the Palestinians? No. The US keeps giving us money for weapons and other stuff and political, an umbrella, protection against UN resolutions and stuff like that. Is there any country that has really, really pushed Israel to move to the right direction? No, but they don't have their embassy in Jerusalem, so they can. That's like a fig leaf. Okay, we are doing something. The embassy is not in Jerusalem. Whatever. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's just annoying to Israeli nationalists and whatever traditionalists and some people in the mainstream that feel that it's disrespectful. And it's used to placate the nationalists and traditionalists and all that on the Palestinian and Arab sides. It doesn't really mean anything about anything. So this global, universal, international decision not to have embassies in Jerusalem, basically it's not a permanent policy. The thinking is that until Israel resolves all its problems with the Palestinians and neighbors regarding Jerusalem, there's no embassy there, and no one recognizes Jerusalem as the capital. It's like its status is on hold, okay? And the way that I see it is that all this is supposed to give political points to people who have bad intentions, who are bad actors. It will help bad actors on both sides. And it's meant also to make the Palestinians now look bad when they'll start to protest, and some of them more right-wing hardliners will riot, and then people will be able to say, look at them, Look at them. Look what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. They're evil. They can't be trusted. Blah 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 blah. And no one actually cares or gives a damn about what this will mean for Israelis and Palestinians living here. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what it means, because the embassy will not move anytime soon. There are several reasons for that. First of all, the embassy in Tel Aviv is sitting on prime real estate, smack dab in the middle of the city, on the beach, overlooking the beach. It's a huge compound on the beach. All the diplomats, all the people who work there, they either live in Tel Aviv or nearby. Tel Aviv is a great city to live in, much better than Jerusalem. It's very attractive to come to Tel Aviv and work as a diplomat. In Tel Aviv you have cafes, you have bars everywhere, you have great weather, you have the beach, you have people from all over, you have culture and stuff. Jerusalem, it's a cold place, it's a dreary place, it's a hard place. I love Jerusalem. I think it's awesome. I would never want to live there. Like, the conflict and the history, it's a burden on the city. You can feel it as you're walking in its streets. And I'm not just talking about the old city and the old parts and the historic parts. So I'm not sure that any of the people who work here in the embassy are interested in any way in moving to Jerusalem anytime soon. And in order to move the embassy, you first have to find somewhere to build a new embassy. The security measures there are incredible. Here in Tel Aviv, you can see it in the embassy. You have tons of guards everywhere. It's like a black cube, like a gray cube. So it will take years upon years to plan and to buy the land and to start building and all that. And Trump will be in jail way before that, or just impeached or resign or whatever. But he will not be here to see that day, if that day will ever come. I'm not sure that it will, at least as long as the conflict goes on. So let's go over a little bit on Trump's speech. He says that this does not change policy about peace or the sovereign or the contested borders of Jerusalem. So why are you doing that if this does not change the policy? I don't understand that. He says they are still for the two-state solution.
The United States would support a two-state solution if agreed to by both sides.
And for maintaining the status quo.
In the meantime, I call on all parties to maintain the status quo at Jerusalem's holy sites, including the Temple Mount, also known as Haram al-Sharif.
They pray over there. Jews cannot pray over there, even though some radical Jews think that they should and they are entitled to. They do not. So this status quo does not change. So what does it mean? And then he says,
with today's action, I reaffirm my administration's long-standing commitment to a future of peace and security for the region.
Yes, now that people will be angry and start to protest and riot, that will improve my security situation. No thank you, no thank you, no thank you. This is just so annoying. This stupid guy is being played and is playing others. This is like a game, like a Monopoly game for him. And there are real consequences. Again, I already had to pay a price by listening to his horrible speech, okay? So this has already started. And also, the thing that made me laugh the most, he said,
it is time for the many who desire peace to expel the extremists from their midst.
First of all, Mr. Trump, your party is filled with crazy extremists, so give me a break. Second of all, you want the people who desire peace to expel the extremists? Okay, so let me tell you about a few people who are either in the government or in the coalition. A lot of them, like a third or a quarter, are for building the third Jewish temple, right? There was a first temple, the Babylonians destroyed it, then there was a second temple 2000 years ago, the Romans destroyed it, and now they want to build a third temple where they want to destroy Haram el-Sharif, the Temple Mount, and build on top of that a temple where they will have to give sacrifice, animal sacrifice to the Lord. This is crazy. Those are the most crazy people in Israel. Some of them, they have an overrepresentation in the coalition. Those are the extremists in our midst. Another guy, Smotrich, in the Jewish Home Party. He does not want an Arab or a Muslim to deliver his baby when his wife is giving birth, because they are not pure. That's what he said. They are not pure. He wants this moment to be purely Jewish. Oh, this is a swell guy. Of course, he's anti-gay in any way, anti the Me Too campaign in any way. He's an extremist in our midst. I want Donald Trump to call Benjamin Netanyahu and tell him, expel those extremists in our midst. Oh, our Minister of Justice, Ayelet Shaked, such a nice lady. She thinks that Palestinian kids and women are fair game because the Palestinian society is guilty as a society for terrorist attacks. That's basically calling for genocide or ethnic cleansing or all kinds of really, really, really nice shit. So, Mr. Trump, please call her and tell her to resign. Okay? She is an extremist in our midst, right?
לא ניתן לשמאלנים להרים את זה. אנחנו הימין נטפל בבעיות של המסתננים. הסודנים הם סרטן בגוף שלנו. הסודנים הם סרטן בגוף שלנו.
How many of the politicians inside the Likud and other parties in the coalition are for ethnic cleansing or are for apartheid by annexing the entire West Bank without giving full rights to the Palestinians living there? So when Trump says that this is time to expel the extremists from our midst, he's talking about the Palestinians. He doesn't care about Israeli extremists, about Jewish extremists. Sheldon Adelson is a radical extremist. He wants this all to be the land of Israel, and he wants Israel to not be a democracy. This is really extreme. This is radical. No. So he means Palestinian extremists who will now protest and be violent and stuff. Of course, you should protest if you're Palestinian, if you want to, whatever. But the people who will now be violent, he will point to them and say, look, they are the extremists. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's just like giving the Palestinians a middle finger. That's the thing. Okay, so a quick historical rundown. Israel was established in 1948. In 1949, after the War of Independence and all that, the armistice line inside Jerusalem basically divided the city into two. The west under Israeli control and the east under Jordanian control. Most Jordanians are actually ethnic Palestinians or Palestinian nationals or expats or whatever you want to call them. Not expats because they are citizens of Jordan, but most of them are Palestinians. Depends who you ask, if 60%, 70%, 80%. The ruling family in Jordan, the royal family, they are Hashemite. That's a different thing, okay? Just think about Syria, right? Most Syria, you have Syrian Sunnis, and the ruling family, the Assad family, they are Alawi, okay? That's different. So this is a problem when things get destabilized. People say, what the fuck, why the fuck? The Hashemites, they're like 10% of Jordan. Why do they rule us Palestinians? Okay, people will start to riot. So this can blow over to the entire region, whatever. The city was divided. 20 years later, in 1967, in the Six-Day War between Israel and Syria, Egypt, and Jordan, Israel conquered a bunch of land in the south, in the north, and also the eastern part of Jerusalem, including the holy sites. This is considered a very emotional moment in the history of Israel. There's like this line, Har HaBayit Beyadenu, the Temple Mount is in our hands. Finally, Jews, after 2,000 years, whatever, they can pray in the Western Wall. Not 2,000 years, because they could pray in the Western Wall before the conflict started. But they can pray in the Western Wall, and they can walk in the old city and all that stuff. And it became this consensus that the city is now united and will never be divided again. It's super symbolic. Means nothing on the ground. Because the city of Jerusalem was artificially enlarged with annexing Palestinian villages and uninhabited areas around it in order to make it bigger and to make it more difficult to divide in any sort of way and to prevent a peace deal. And this is what we have to understand about Benjamin Netanyahu. He will try to prevent a peace agreement in any way he can. It's not only his political interest to prevent a peace deal. This is his ideology. It has always been this way. So whenever he talks about peace, you should remember he is lying. He is just lying. He is a liar. He's a pathological liar. He does not want peace. He wants it to make it seem as if he wants peace, and for everybody to blame the Palestinians for the fact that there is no peace. So much of the land that was annexed was never part of the historic Jerusalem. So this is again just bullshit. And the Palestinians have said for forever that in any peace deal, their capital will be Eastern Jerusalem. They call it El-Quds. Why would we want to keep Palestinian neighborhoods that are 100% Palestinian, that all their inhabitants are Palestinians, except some neighborhoods where you have crazy Jews who go to live in the middle of a Palestinian neighborhood in order to Judify or Jewify, whatever, slowly, step by step, Jerusalem and make it impossible to reach any peace deal. It's all talking points. So when Israel passed in 1980 a law that says that the United City, the capital, and all that jazz, the Security Council of the UN stated, it's the 478 resolution, that this annexation is a violation of international law. Okay, this decision is mostly declaratory because actually no one has changed really their policy towards Israel in any way since then. It's actually like a remnant of the agreement partition in 1947, whatever. We talked about it in a separate video about all the different proposals. I don't want to get into the... So all this... Also, this talk about a united Jerusalem, this is also bullshit because the eastern part and the western part could not be more different. It's not united in any sort of way. As I said before, Jews cannot pray wherever they want, even though we are supposed to be the sovereign in Jerusalem. Okay, so the Christians actually enjoy like a de facto autonomy on their holy sites, and Muslims they have autonomy and first say about the Muslim sites. So whenever there is a whiff of this status quo changing, all hell breaks loose. There was Bibi in 1996 when he was the first prime minister. He tried to change the status quo by digging a tunnel that was supposed to be so important now, even though no one ever heard about it before, like a tunnel under the Temple Mount, blah blah blah. Started right, 16 soldiers were killed, dozens of Palestinians. Boom, he backtracked, nothing. A few months ago, because of the deteriorating security situation, the government decided to place metal detectors outside the Temple Mount, Haram el-Sharif, in order to make sure that no one is armed. there was so much pressure that this right-wing so-called strong government just folded completely and removed the metal detectors. That they have, that for weeks they were saying this is crucial for the security of Israel and Israelis, we have to put those metal detectors, blah, 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 had to remove them. So, if the government of Israel is the sovereign in Jerusalem, and if this is our capital like any other capital, will there be pressure in the US if there are metal detectors in Washington DC, or in Paris, or in London? So this is not a capital like any other capital, because we don't control it the way that other countries control their own capitals, because the situation is complicated. This is it. The situation is complicated. It's so complicated, and this even a lot of Israelis don't know. The Palestinians who live in Eastern Jerusalem, which was annexed to Israel, to official Israel, unlike the West Bank, right? They are not citizens of Israel. They have an ID, but they can vote for the municipality of Jerusalem, but they cannot vote for the Knesset, for the Israeli parliament. They live here under Israeli rule, and they cannot vote. Okay, that does not sound like a good solution. And in order for, and I cannot now move to Eastern Jerusalem just because I want to. I have to bring a fucking militia and buy a house like in secrecy with like foreign corporations, like dummy corporations. This is like a very, very hard thing to do. And this is supposed to be in Israel, in Jerusalem, the united capital forever and ever and ever. Right, okay, so why can't I move there if I want to? Bullshit talking points, this is all it is. But Israel, the right-wing governments have tried to build in certain areas east to Eastern Jerusalem in order to prevent any land continuity in future peace deals. But they have not gone too far to build in certain areas that will for sure prevent any peace deal, because they know that this is going too far. There's a wall inside the eastern part of the city. I've been there. It's horrible. It's inside a neighborhood, just a gigantic wall, and you drive through the wall for like 10-20 minutes until you get to the checkpoint, and then you go and you make a U-turn and you go all the way back to a house that's like, if you throw a stone, it's like 10 meters, but you have to drive 40 minutes around it. So this was basically the government saying, this part of Eastern Jerusalem, this is not Jerusalem, this is beyond the wall, right? Beyond the wall. And this part of Eastern Jerusalem, yes, this is the holy place, blah, 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 even though no Jew lives there, and it was never part of the Jerusalem, of the historic Jerusalem. And also, a few years ago, there were a lot of terrorist attacks in Jerusalem. So Bibi's government, they placed like barricades along the line that separates east and west, de facto dividing the city into two. After they realized that, they removed the barricades. Who cares that people get killed? But it's symbolic. It will make it seem as if the city is divided. Whatever. Having said all that, there's like an interesting caveat. That there have been several surveys among the Palestinian population living in Jerusalem, right? They have an Israeli ID card, they get social security, Israeli social security and all that. And it seems that there is a majority within the Palestinian population living in Eastern Jerusalem who will want to live in Israel if and when there is a Palestinian state and Eastern Jerusalem becomes the capital of the Palestinian state. They will want to move to Israel. Because I'm guessing economic reasons, security reasons, probably they're afraid that the new state will be a corrupt state or a failed state or stuff like that. So that's like an interesting caveat in all that. Oh, and when Bibi and Trump, they say that this will advance the peace deal and better Israel's standing in the Middle East. That's interesting, because all of Israel's Middle Eastern allies, like Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Jordan, they are very much against that. It actually makes it more difficult for them to cooperate with Israel now that Trump has declared that Israel is officially whatever, blah, 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 the capital of Israel, which it was before. So they don't care about Jerusalem. They're just politicians, okay? They don't want anybody to talk about that, so they can cooperate with Israel against Hezbollah and Iran and other Shiite forces here in the Middle East, right, who threaten their own stability. There's like a cold war, like a proxy war in the Middle East between the Sunni nations and Israel and the Shiite nations. And the forces, whatever, like Hezbollah is not a nation. But these politicians, they have to listen to the people in one way or another. Of course, it's not a democracy. But if there are riots in Jordan against the king because there is an Israeli embassy in Amman, this has happened before, that when Israel has made certain moves, unpopular moves, there was like a blockade on the Israeli embassy in Cairo or in Amman, and you had to evacuate with helicopters, whatever, with James Bond like things, the ambassador and all the workers. So this is what might happen now. There's no peace process to speak of. What this will do, it will allow the right wing in Israel, the Jewish right wing, to claim victory and maybe become more popular. And it will help the right wing Palestinians to tell the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, who is cooperating with Israel on security matters, and who has vowed not to push any violence to get a Palestinian state, but get it diplomatically. This has been a strategic decision by him that has been criticized by the Palestinian right wing for many years. So this gives the Palestinian right wing, Hamas and Islamic Jihad and others, a lot of political ammunition to tell the Palestinians, why do you support this guy who thinks that he will get a diplomatic victory? You can trust no one. You can trust Israel. You can trust America. You can trust all the infidels. Whatever. You have to fight. You have to carry out attacks and all that. So this is actually very helpful to them. Bottom line, there's so much talk, just like a brouhaha about like meaningless symbolic gestures. But unfortunately, symbols matter for a lot of people. I read something that wrote today a professor of mine that I had, Aviad Kleinberg. He said that after the Reconquista in Spain, when the Christian reconquered Spain and made it a Christian nation, they decided that only Christians can live in this place. In Spain, if you're not a Christian, you can either convert and stay, or you should leave. And a lot of Jews stayed and like fake converted. And sometimes they were found out because they preferred to die than to eat pork. Even though in the Bible it says that if you have to save your life, you can eat pork. They prefer to die than to eat pork. But they were willing to fake pray to Jesus, even though it says in the Bible that you should die before you pray for another God, okay? Because it's symbolic, right? The pork, the meat, the pig, right? It's symbolic. You cannot eat it whatsoever. You can fake pray even though you should die before you do that, but because symbols matter. So now a lot of people will be really mad about this symbolism, okay? So even though it's bullshit and it's nothing, people believe it means something. Anything that advances the peace is a threat to right-wing Palestinians and to right-wing Israelis. So you can see why they are happy. You can see why Israel, and you can see why Bibi is happy. They have not done one thing that they have called for years. They have been talking about annexation of the West Bank. Nothing. They have signed agreements with the European Union that specifically exclude the settlements because it is outside Israel, not only in the eyes of the international community, but also in Israeli law. It is not considered Israel. They have been calling the Oslo Accords like criminal accords. They have this slogan that Oslo's criminal should go to jail, but they have not cancelled the Oslo Accords. So now, while they're working their ass off to prevent half of them of going to jail, they have something to say. They don't care about Jerusalem. Jerusalem is one of the poorest cities in Israel. It's actually on the decline. Are they investing in Jerusalem to better the lives of people living in Jerusalem? Jews or Palestinians or Christians or whatever? No, they're not doing anything. They don't care. They just want to talk high and mighty. This is just like whatever, I'll build a wall, a beautiful wall, blah, blah, blah. It's the same kind of bullshit. One thing that is scary is that the chief Palestinian negotiator, Saeb Erekat, said yesterday that the Palestinians will no longer work for a two-state solution, but will work for a one-state solution. This might be an empty threat because he has a personal interest in the two-state solution, and all the Palestinian elite, they have a personal incentive to continue with the two-state solution because of all the money and standing that they get from the EU and all kinds of other organizations. But, so if it's not a threat, if they have lost all hope in the two-state solution, then we are all screwed. A one-state solution here or a one-state without a solution, this is basically the end of life as we know it here. Blood will flow in the streets, and I for one will not live here anymore, and I will take my family and go somewhere else because it can turn out like Syria or whatever. So thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you, Sheldon Adelson. Please wish me a happy Jerusalem day. We have a new capital. Things are looking up. Things will be better from now on. Things will be different. Yay. If you enjoyed this kind of video, please mention in the comments. I might be able to do more of that stuff quickly. In this way, without the cameras and everything, it goes way faster. It's much easier to edit and stuff, so let me know if you find that interesting. I can start maybe a new series of videos for patrons calling it Breaking Down the News, whenever there's something that you guys want to understand about Israel, or just like get my views on political historical stuff. I can do it this way and get it out way quicker. So let me know, and thank you for supporting our channel. I hope you're enjoying all our Patreon-only stuff, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
It is time for all civilized nations and people to respond to disagreement with reasoned debate.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell you.
We have very stupid people in our country negotiating for us.
And the media, look at all those people back there. Scavengers, they're like scavengers.